There comes a moment when you must learn to protect your inner world the same way you protect your home. Not every emotion deserves an audience, and not every struggle deserves an explanation. In a time where people speak more than they listen, where sharing has become a habit, and privacy feels like a burden, you must learn the ancient discipline of silence. Silence protects your inner growth, because growth itself is a delicate process, one that requires space, patience, and the absence of unnecessary noise. When you are evolving, developing a new mindset, healing from old wounds, or working toward a goal, you are in a phase where even a small interruption can disturb your progress. People often underestimate how sensitive the early stages of transformation truly are. Just like a plant does not sprout the very moment the seed is placed in the soil, your inner world also needs time before it becomes strong enough to withstand commentary, opinions, or external pressure. When you talk too much about what you're planning, what you're fixing, what you're struggling with, or what you're trying to build, you open the door for others to influence your direction. Sometimes without meaning to. A single comment, a small doubt, or a careless remark can plant uncertainty in your mind. And once that uncertainty enters, your focus becomes divided. Instead of nurturing your growth, you begin defending it. Instead of staying committed, you start questioning yourself. Silence closes this door. It acts as a shield around your inner work, keeping distractions, negativity, and unwanted energy out. Growth also requires clarity, and silence creates clarity. When you are not explaining yourself, when you are not constantly announcing what you are doing, you start listening more to your values, your intuition, your purpose. You begin to understand what truly matters to you, not what others think should matter. Silence allows your thoughts to settle in the right place at the right time. You stop rushing to prove something. You stop trying to impress. Instead, you focus on the quality of your inner journey. There is also a natural strength that develops when you keep certain things to yourself. When you don't seek validation or reassurance from others, you rely on your own wisdom and discipline. You learn to trust your path, even when no one else sees it. This self-trust becomes a powerful foundation for everything you do. It makes your growth stable and sustainable. You no longer crumble when faced with doubt from others because your confidence does not depend on them. Silence offers emotional protection as well. When you are healing, learning, or changing, your emotions are often in a vulnerable state. By keeping your process private, you avoid unnecessary emotional entanglements. You avoid situations where people misunderstand you, judge you, or give advice that doesn't align with your truth. In silence, you learn to handle your emotions with maturity. You allow yourself to grow without interference. In the end, silence doesn't mean isolation. It means choosing the right time to reveal your growth, when it has become strong enough to stand on its own without collapsing under the weight of someone else's opinion. Not everyone deserves access to your personal journey, because every person around you carries their own lens, shaped by their fears, traumas, insecurities, beliefs, and experiences. When you share too much about your life, your dreams, your struggles, your plans, you are inviting these lenses to filter your reality. Some people will listen with genuine care, but many will listen with comparison, judgment, or a limited understanding. And when their opinions enter your mind, even subtly, they can alter your direction without you realizing it. People often misunderstand the depth of your journey because they have not walked your path. They don't know the battles you fought in silence, the doubts you overcame, or the inner discipline you're trying to build. They may respond from their fears, not yours. So when you tell someone your vision, they might discourage you. Not because it's impossible, but because they themselves would be afraid to attempt it. When you share your healing, they may question it. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because they've never learned how to heal themselves. Their limitation becomes your confusion if you absorb their perspective. There are also those who unintentionally drain your energy, not out of malice, but out of habit. They may overanalyze your choices, offer advice you never asked for, or turn your journey into a topic of conversation. Suddenly, something that was sacred becomes casual. Something that required focus becomes scattered. Some people simply do not have the emotional capacity to understand what you're doing. They may try to help, but their help becomes interference. And then there are people who quietly benefit from you staying the same. When you grow, evolve, or rise, it disrupts the comfort of those who prefer you predictable. If you talk too much about your transformation, some will subtly discourage you because your improvement exposes their stagnation. So they question your steps, minimize your progress, or pull your attention away from what truly matters, all while pretending to care. Even those who truly love you may not fully understand you. They want to protect you from failure, so they hold you back without meaning to. They offer safe advice, not because they doubt you, but because they fear seeing you hurt. But growth requires risk, courage, and an openness that not everyone can support. Your personal journey is not a public project. It is a sacred inner process, and not everyone is equipped to handle its depth. When you share less, you preserve your energy. When you choose carefully whom you trust, you move forward with clarity instead of confusion. Not everyone needs to understand your path, because your path was never given to them, only to you. Results speak louder than explanations, because true transformation does not need an audience. It only needs consistency. When you are constantly explaining what you are planning to do, what you hope to achieve, or why you are taking certain steps, you waste energy that could be used to actually make progress. Explanations create noise, but results create truth. And truth has a presence that cannot be denied. When you achieve something, even quietly, people feel it. They sense it through the change in your behavior, the strength in your actions, and the calmness in your energy. Results have a gravity that explanations will never have. When you speak too early about your goals, you create expectations. Expectations bring pressure, and pressure often leads to distraction. You start thinking about how others perceive your journey, rather than focusing on the journey itself. You begin to worry about what people will say if you fail or if your progress is slow. But when you stay silent, you remove that weight. You give yourself permission to grow at your own pace without being watched. You allow your process to unfold naturally, without performing for anyone. There is also a psychological shift that happens when you announce your intentions. Research has shown that talking about your goals can trick your mind into feeling that you've already accomplished something, reducing your motivation to actually do the work. When you keep your intentions private, your mind understands that the journey is still ongoing. The fire remains alive. You stay hungry. You stay disciplined. You stay focused on the actions instead of the applause. Results also protect you from unnecessary criticism. When you talk about what you plan to do, everyone suddenly becomes an expert in your life. People offer opinions you never asked for. They doubt you, question you, and sometimes intentionally or unintentionally weaken your confidence. But when you show them results instead of explanations, there is nothing for them to argue with. They cannot question what is already done. They cannot debate what is already achieved. Results silence doubt more effectively than words ever could. When you let your actions speak, you develop inner strength. You no longer depend on approval or reassurance. You no longer feel the need to justify your path or convince others of your direction. You let your progress speak for itself. And when it does, it speaks with clarity, authority, and authenticity. People may not understand your silence, but they will respect your results. When your actions carry the message, your growth becomes undeniable. Privacy creates peace because it removes the unnecessary weight that comes from allowing too many people into your inner world. Every opinion you hear, every judgment you receive, every question people ask about your life adds a small layer of pressure. When you share everything, your plans, your problems, your emotions, you unintentionally open doors for others to step into a space that is meant to be yours. And once they enter, they don't always leave quietly. Their thoughts, their doubts, their assumptions stay with you, echo in your mind, and influence your emotions. Privacy closes those doors. It protects your mental space from becoming crowded with voices that don't belong there. When you keep certain parts of your life private, you give yourself room to breathe. You begin to move without feeling watched or judged. You can make mistakes privately, learn lessons quietly, and grow without constantly explaining yourself. Peace comes from knowing that not every decision you make will be analyzed. Not every emotion you feel will be questioned. Not every challenge you face will become a topic of discussion. Privacy gives you freedom from the noise of unnecessary opinions. People often underestimate how much stress comes from sharing too much. When you tell others about your struggles, some will worry, some will judge, and some will misunderstand. Suddenly, you find yourself managing their reactions on top of your own emotions. Their confusion becomes your burden. Their expectations become your pressure. Privacy releases you from carrying what is not yours to carry. You no longer have to justify your choices or explain your feelings. You simply live, learn, and move forward at your own pace. Privacy also strengthens your emotional balance. When your life is constantly exposed, every setback feels heavier because it becomes public. Every slow step feels embarrassing because someone is watching. But when your journey is private, you handle challenges with calmness. You allow yourself to fall without shame, rise without applause, and grow without comparison. This quiet environment creates clarity. You begin to understand your motivations more deeply because your choices are no longer influenced by what others think or say. Another form of peace that privacy brings is the peace of authenticity. When you are not performing your life for others, you can focus on what genuinely matters to you. You stop shaping your decisions around approval or validation. You stop pretending to be stronger, happier, or more successful than you truly are. Privacy lets you be real with yourself first. That honesty becomes grounding. It brings a sense of inner stability that no external recognition can give. Peace is not found by telling your story to everyone. It is found by choosing who deserves access and who does not. Privacy is not secrecy. It is protection. It is the quiet space where your thoughts settle, your heart resets, and your spirit rests without interference. Your healing and spiritual growth are sacred because they happen in the deepest, most vulnerable parts of your inner world. Places that cannot be understood or respected by everyone. Healing is not just fixing what broke, it is rediscovering who you are beneath the wounds, the expectations, and the noise of the past. This kind of transformation requires gentleness, patience, and a safe environment. When you expose your healing too early or too widely, you risk letting outside energy interfere with a process that is meant to be intimate. People may not understand the way you heal, the pace at which you grow, or the silence you need to rebuild yourself. Their misunderstanding can make you question your methods, doubt your progress, or even feel ashamed of your emotions. This is why protecting your healing is essential. It allows you to move through your journey without the fear of judgment or interruption. Spiritual growth is equally delicate. It involves shedding old identities, leaving behind parts of yourself that no longer serve you, and learning to connect with something deeper and more meaningful. This evolution is personal. It cannot be measured by anyone else's standards. Some people may not understand why you are becoming quieter, more selective, or more introspective. They may misinterpret your changes as distancing or detachment, when in reality, you are simply learning to listen to your own soul more clearly. Sharing this journey with people who are not ready or willing to understand can lead to unnecessary conflict, confusion, or criticism. Keeping your spiritual growth private gives you the freedom to explore, learn, and transform at your own rhythm. Your inner healing also requires protection from people who project their fears, insecurities, or unresolved pain onto you. When you share your struggles or your spiritual realizations with the wrong audience, they may dismiss your experience, offer advice based on their own wounds, or attempt to pull you back into patterns you are trying to escape. They do not do this intentionally. It is simply the nature of unhealed people to respond from their own hurt. By keeping your process sacred, you avoid absorbing energy that does not belong to you. You maintain emotional hygiene. You stay connected to your truth instead of drowning in someone else's. Another reason your healing is sacred is because it is not linear. Some days you rise, some days you fall. Some days you feel strong, other days you feel fragile. If too many people are watching, you may feel pressure to appear okay, even when you are not. Privacy allows you to experience your emotions fully without pretending. It gives you space to cry, reflect, breathe, and rebuild without worrying about how it looks from the outside. When you honor your healing and spiritual growth by keeping them sacred, you create a safe inner environment where true transformation can happen. You allow yourself to grow without interruption, evolve without fear, and rise without explanation. True maturity is moving without noise, because the deepest form of strength is expressed not in words, but in quiet, consistent action. When you reach a point in life where you no longer feel the need to announce your plans, defend your decisions, or seek approval before taking a step, you enter a different level of inner discipline. Noise comes from insecurity. When you still feel unsure, you try to reassure yourself by talking. You explain your dreams to feel validated. You describe your goals to feel motivated. And you share your struggles to feel understood. But when you mature internally, you begin to trust your direction without needing external confirmation. You don't need applause to start, and you don't need permission to continue. Moving quietly allows you to focus fully on the work instead of the audience. The more you speak about what you want to do, the more energy you lose trying to manage expectations. But when you stay silent, your mind becomes sharper. Your actions become cleaner. There is no performance, no pressure, no distraction, only the next step. Quiet movement strengthens your discipline because you develop the ability to act for the sake of growth, not recognition. You no longer chase results because others are watching. You chase results because you yourself are committed. There is also a profound strength in not reacting to everything around you. When you become mature, you don't respond to every insult, every misunderstanding, or every provocation. You realize that not everything deserves your energy. Many situations resolve themselves if you remain calm. Many conflicts disappear if you refuse to feed them. Silence becomes a strategy, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You choose peace over ego, growth over arguments, progress over attention. This restraint is something only those with real control can practice. Quiet movement also protects your energy. When you move without noise, people cannot interfere with your plans because they do not know them. They cannot discourage you, slow you down, or inject doubt into your mind. You walk your path without carrying the weight of opinions. You are free to adjust, experiment, fail, and start again, because no one is measuring your pace except you. This freedom is powerful. It allows your journey to unfold naturally, without being influenced by external pressures. As you continue to grow, you realize that noise is a distraction, but silence is a direction. Noise comes from trying to prove something. Silence comes from already knowing who you are. Noise attracts attention. Silence attracts understanding. When you operate quietly, you build things that last. You create a life based on intention, patience, and focus, not on the desire to be seen. In this stillness, you develop a strength that does not need to shout. Your presence becomes enough. Your actions become your voice, and your growth becomes visible without you ever needing to announce it. When you begin to guard your words, protect your journey, and move with quiet strength, you discover a version of yourself that does not depend on the world's noise to feel whole. Silence becomes your ally, privacy becomes your foundation, and self-trust becomes your compass. You stop wasting energy on explanations and start investing it in growth. You stop inviting unnecessary opinions and start listening to your own inner clarity. You stop performing your life and start living it with intention. Every step taken quietly builds a deeper kind of confidence, one that does not need applause, approval, or recognition. The peace you create within yourself becomes stronger than any pressure around you. And without realizing it, you begin to rise in a way that is undeniable, not because you spoke loudly, but because you acted consistently. Your results become your voice, your discipline becomes your anchor, and your transformation becomes your message. In the end, the world never needed to hear your plans. It only needed to witness your becoming.